Hey everybody, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and today we're talking storage. And no, I don't mean storage for all the different toys and books and comics that you see around me right now. I'm talking storage for your computer. Whether you're a YouTuber who's making a ton of video content, or you're somebody working on other video files elsewhere, or other really big projects for art, or really anything out there, space is always the final frontier, and one that is very problematic when you start running out on your desktop. There's a lot of different options out there, and I use plenty of them, but I gotta tell you guys, one company that I always go back to is LaCie. And in fact, last year on this channel, we took a look at some LaCie hard drives. This year, we're doing that again because they've got some new ones out here that I want to tell you all about. So today, we're gonna be taking a look at 3 external hard drives from LaCie. One of them in a very kind of classic style, another in a very stylish style, if I can use style that many times in one sentence, and another one that's here to essentially help save the world. So yes, not only can these external hard drives back up all your files, they're also good for the environment. Go figure, who knew? So in this review, we're going to take a look first at a mobile drive. This is the Mobile Secure Drive, 2 terabyte drive from LaCie. This is a classic mobile drive. It's meant to be put into your bag if you're going to be commuting or traveling wherever to store some files. This comes in a few different sizes, but we'll get to that later. And this is, again, a design we've seen even as far back as last year and a few years earlier, but they're always making changes, they're always making adjustments, so we're gonna check out how this guy is in action. We're also gonna take this one here. This is a Seagate drive. Now, this is one of their gaming drives, so not only can you use this for your computer, this is also compatible with video game consoles, and this is from their Star Wars branded line. So it's got a really cool Star Wars design on it with Han Solo. It's got some awesome light features, and you're gonna see those features in a little bit as well. And last but not least, the one that really caught my eye is this one right here. This is the Seagate Ultra Touch. This one here is made from recycled materials. So to me, that's something I haven't really ever considered with an external hard drive. You know, to me, I'm always thinking it's gonna be some sort of really hard metal thing or whatever, but this guy right here is meant to be a little bit more of a compact model that's also here to essentially help the environment out. So it's a win-win kind of scenario because you get to back up your files and also cut back on waste. And by the way, if you're wondering here why I'm talking about LaCie drives but also mentioning Seagate, that's because they essentially are one and the same. So if you're confused by that, I hope that clears it up for you. So we got our 3 drives right here. We're gonna go into some details about how they function in a little bit, but first things first, let's do an unboxing and take a look at how these things look out of the packaging. All right, so we have our Ultra Touch Universal USB-C drive, we have our mobile drive, and then we've got our Star Wars gaming drive. So we've got them all laid out right now here on this table. Let's go ahead and open them up and see what each of these come with, which will more or less be the exact same thing. Out of the box, everybody comes with instructions, which are really fairly self-explanatory, honestly. For the most part, you can just plug these guys into your computer and they'll start up right away. You don't really need to know too much about this. It is handy though, just because it reminds you to register all your products with their website, and I recommend you do that so that you can access customer support if you need it, if you have any issues with any of your products. The only real difference about any of this stuff is that the Star Wars one actually comes with 2 sets of decals, which is kind of fun. I know it's a little bit hard to see them with this very white stuff on top of white, but yeah, you got 2 separate sticker sheets here. So one of them, the one on the left here, has the Millennium Falcon, it has the Rebel insignia and the Imperial logo, and then the one on my right hand here has all the different Seagate Gaming and Firecuda logos. So you got some options if you want to customize your tower or whatever else you're using these things with. So let's start with the Mobile Drive Secure here, and that's packaged in this biodegradable container. We'll just pop this guy out, and you can see right out the box, literally, there you go, we have a USB-C to USB-C, so USB-C all around for this drive. And here is how the drive looks right out of the box. Really wonderful looking, very polished silver color on this. Nice solid case. You know, this is basically very, very similar to what we got last time, but that's fine because it still works. And you guys can see just how thin this is also. This is so nice and compact, very portable size. For reference, here is the 12-inch Gentle Giant Indiana Jones figure that recently came out this year. And you can see it's like not even half his body. So this is, you know, I'd say close to around like 5 inches or so, maybe a little bit more. So yeah, not that long. Very, very small all around, which is wonderful to have. I'm gonna hold on to you, Harrison, because we're gonna need you later on with Han Solo. The Ultra Touch drive similarly is in this biodegradable packaging. And all right, here's how this guy comes out. And yeah, off the bat, I can actually tell this feels very, very different than the one we just looked at. And in here, again, once again, we have a USB-C cable, USB-C being on both sides of this. This drive just feels so much lighter. And I don't really think it's a bad thing necessarily, because again, this is made out of recycled plastic, recycled materials, so it's going to definitely be lighter, but it doesn't feel like it's, you know, going to be insecure inside there. I mean, it looks pretty solid to me. And the colors are nice as well. Like, it's got this really nice off-white shade, a little bit of this very earthy kind of green tone for where the logo is. And just so you guys can see also, here's the drive we just looked at. So size-wise, they're fairly comparable, but the Ultra Touch is a little bit smaller and similar width, but not quite as far as the dimensions go. You guys can see side by side that the LaCie Secure drive is actually peeking out the sides a little bit. It's not a major difference, and if anything, it's actually smaller, and that makes it more compact, which is pretty handy to have. I mean, for my money, it's always good to have something feeling more secure, and obviously the metal will always feel more secure because of what it's made out of, but I don't feel like I'm gonna really run into any issues with this thing getting banged around. It still feels like it has a very solid construction to it. And last but not least, we have our Han Solo Firecuda gaming drive. This one is pretty different from the rest because it actually has a design on the front. It also has an embossed area with the Firecuda gaming logo up top, and Seagate also gets a similar treatment on the bottom underneath Han. If you flip the drive over, you will find the Millennium Falcon with the Rebel insignia hanging out on the back. Really cool, very nice, simple, very graphical look, and looks stunning, to be quite honest. Now, granted, you're not going to really have your drive flipped over that much, so enjoy it while you can, but for the most part, you'll be staring at Han Solo's smug face, and that's not a bad thing either. Unlike the other drives, this one is a USB 3 drive, so you got your USB 3 right there. That's going to attach into this part here, into that section. You'll plug this into your computer or whatever you're going to be using it with. So yeah, not USB-C this time around. This is USB 3, so make sure you know that that is a difference when you're buying this drive. And I can't show this drive off without also bringing in this Harrison one more time, just so you guys can see. This is probably, I think, the biggest drive as far as height among the other ones that we've looked at so far, but still not big, not that enormous, and likewise not that thick either, even though it still is, I think, the bigger of the three. And we'll do that size comparison right now, just for those that care about this sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is the thickest one here. Han Solo is the thickest and the tallest, but it's still not that much. And the only reason it's a little bit bigger is going to be because this has the RGB lighting effects on it. So that's all three of our drives side by side. That's how they look. They're pretty nice looking, gotta say, all around. I'm very excited to try these things out, because really, at this point, that's all it's left to do, and that's frankly the most important part of all of these three drives that we're looking at. So let's go ahead, hook them up, and give them a test. So the way that we're going to test these three beautiful little drives here is going to be twofold. First, I'm going to move a really large batch of files from my desktop onto each of these individual drives one at a time. And that'll just act as a litmus test for generally how fast these things will work with really just about any kind of desktop, whether it's Mac or PC. And then we're going to mix it up a little bit by involving this right here. This is my camera that I'm using for all my filming, or at least not the one I'm using right now, but you guys get the idea. I'm going to use some of my 4K files that I've been using for all the videos that I shoot here on this channel. I've got a memory card full of stuff, so we're going to do a swap from a memory card directly onto these drives. That should be a little bit more fun and different, because to be fair, the speed of the memory card will come into play a little bit here, but it is a little bit different, so that is going to test the norm of how it will go against something like that. So let's get started. So first things first, what I'm going to do is plug in each of the drives, and I'm going to be doing that separately, by the way, so they're not going to be all in at the same time. Whenever I'm done using a drive during this test, I will eject it and put a new one in, and that's always going to be a safe eject too. We're not just yanking these drives right out of their ports. And let's live dangerously a little bit here. I think I'm actually going to start this test with my Panasonic GH5 camera and using the memory card, which you're going to see right here. We're going to start by testing this guy out. So what I'm going to be doing is putting that into my Kingston memory card reader, throwing that into the back of my computer, and then we're going to be dragging the files directly from that on the card onto the external hard drives. So I'm going to start first with the Ultra Touch drive, and I'm going to show you guys also how many 4K files that we're dealing with here, just so you get an idea of how much I'm actually going to be shifting from one place to another. So we're going to be dealing with about 114 gigabytes here. That's a lot of footage to be moving, and 4K video files are always pretty massive, so this should be a pretty good way to test things out. So first place we're going to go to is the Ultra Touch drive, and as you can see right here, it's saying it's going to take about under an hour, so we're looking at 48 minutes. It eventually kind of got down to 46, and that was essentially the speed that it kept up and maintained throughout the entire transfer of files. So pretty good amount of space here to be pretty decent as far as time goes from moving one file to another. Now we're going to try the LaCie Mobile Drive. This is the classic drive that I've already had previously in video reviews, and this one is pretty much just about the same. And if you're curious, by the way, here is a side-by-side comparison of the mobile drive from last year to what we're looking at this year. And the biggest difference really is the color. The one from 2023 actually has a darker shade of sort of almost gunmetal gray, I guess you could call it. Whereas the one from last year is a much shinier, lighter shade of silver. But other than that, physically speaking, there's not really much of a difference in them. And speaking of, both of those do share those nice little ridged design that's on the side of the drive too. Don't know if it actually offers anything special as far as protection or heat absorption or whatever the heck, I don't know, but it looks kind of cool. Oddly enough, it kind of started off a little bit slower for whatever reason. That's just a thing that happens with drives. And then it just went back into pretty much normal gear, and it was going to take more or less the same time as the Ultra Touch. So as far as memory cards are going, there's not much of a difference between the Ultra Touch or the Mobile Drive Secure. Now we're going to test out the Firecuda gaming drive, but before we do that, I'm going to do something I always do with my drives. That's going to be open up disk utility on my Mac, and what I like to do typically is make sure all my drives are exFAT. Now, as it turned out, as I was doing this, all the drives that I was sent today are in fact exFAT. If you don't know what that means, that's just a format of the drive, and it makes it universal between Mac and PC. And of course, because this is the Han Solo drive, I gotta name this one Han Solo. And FYI, I generally do this with all my drives, and I recommend it because if you're someone that's moving files from one computer to a different place, and the operating systems aren't the same, you're gonna have problems. So, highly recommend you guys always switch to exFAT, and that's how you do it on your Mac. And surprisingly, when I move things from the memory card onto the Han Solo drive, it's basically taking half the time. This is saying it's going to take about 20 minutes to move that same amount of files, so way, way, way faster than what we just had with the Ultra Touch and the Mobile Drive Secure. Now, before we move on to the next test, I want to show you guys one of the cool things about that Han Solo drive we just looked at, and that's that it links up with the Seagate app. Now you can download this app for all of your different Seagate and LaCie drives. I highly recommend it. It allows you to do some different things with it, and in the case of the Han Solo Firecuda gaming drive, this allows you to play with the lights. Now when you first plug it in, it's going to be just a normal plain white light, but once you go into the app, you have the ability to change all sorts of things with that illumination. And off the bat, the first thing you can do is simply change the intensity. You could also enable or disable that LED light if you don't want to use it. But personally, my favorite thing is to go ahead and play with the different RGB colors. And if you're getting a drive like this, that's really what you should be doing. So there's a few different things you can do here, and to start things off, you guys can see that you can just simply change the color from one to another, and you have a whole different array of colors to choose from if you want to do that. And these are all just different tones and different solid lights you can have on the hard drive. From there, you've also got different controls and different settings and ways to display the lights on your drive. So you can have it blink, you can have it kind of fade in and fade out, all sorts of different effects to make yours. But for me, my favorite one is the spectrum effect. This one is just so cool to look at. I love the rainbow of colors that kind of just shift and change at will, and you can change that as well. Once again, you can change the intensity, you can change how it's doing it as far as speed goes, so you got a lot of customization options to make it light up the way you want it to. And honestly, this thing just looks so gorgeous. I don't know why you wouldn't want to have your lights turned on for real. I mean, look at this thing. And if you want to customize one step further, there are custom options you can do as well, and you can play with that, but that's up to you how you want to do that. But either way, the thing to know is that this Han Solo drive, and really any of the other LaCie or Seagate drives that have LED settings, offer you many different ways to play with those colors and lights. And you're going to have a good time doing that. It's going to probably distract you while you're busy transferring those boring files from one place to another. Now for our next test, I'm going into my documents on my computer, my very, very cluttered computer. I'm going to go ahead and pull out Zoom files. And the reason being is because I have a podcast called Trek Untold. It's an interview show, and I rack up a lot of interviews. And while I do back it up onto an external hard drive, a lot of them still do live in the computer just as another safety. And we're talking now over 200 gigabytes of footage here. So we're going to go ahead and see how this stuff moves onto the different drives, starting first with that LaCie Mobile Secure. And it looks like this transfer is going to take just under 30 minutes. So that's not too bad as far as going from computer to drive with over 200 gigabytes of stuff. Not bad at all. Let's pop out that drive, and now we're going to put the Ultra Touch to the test. We're going to see how it handles over 200 gigabytes of Zoom files. And as it turns out, well, really just about the same. That shouldn't surprise you considering what we saw already with the memory card. Really not a substantial difference, essentially just about the same time period to get those 200 gigabytes onto this drive just like the other. And finally, for our scruffy nerf-hurting drive, we're going to do the exact same thing, moving the Zoom files onto Han Solo. We'll see how it fares, and curiously, it's actually going to take just about the same time. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit faster, but no, for whatever reason, it's actually just about the same time period. No idea why, but still not too bad, honestly. If it's only going to take under 30 minutes to move all these files, then I'm pretty happy. Talk about may the force be with you. So at the end of the day, really you can't go wrong with any of these drives, whether you're getting the Ultra Touch, whether you're getting that classic Mobile Drive Secure, or the Star Wars Firecuda gaming drive with the LED lights. They both have their strong points, and really, as far as weaknesses, I don't really have much here. Now, I will add that for the most part, everybody's going to have a different experience at different companies. I know I've always had great luck with LaCie, but there's other companies who I've had terrible luck with, or I've had drives that crash all the time. So this is going to be one of those user mileage may vary situations, but I've been very happy with LaCie for a long time, and I always enjoy taking a look at what they've got new coming out every year. And the fact is, the Ultra Touch drive is such a cool concept. I love how this thing is meant to actually help the environment, while frankly consumers like us are busy making more waste. So all in all, while it might not be the most impressive design, it still does some good out there in the world, and some is better than none. My final verdict with all three of these drives is they're all going to be meeting exactly what you need them to do, and that's just safely secure your drives in a pocket-sized format. Now, while none of these are solid-state drives, of course, because that would drive the price way, way up there, I still have really not had any issues with failures in the past, so I feel pretty comfy bringing these with me on the go. I still would, of course, try to be gentle with them as much as possible and don't toss them around or have them drop on the floor, but for the most part, they're fairly sturdy, they do the job, and your files are going to be safe. All the drives you're looking at today do come in different sizes as well, and if you want to take a look at more of that as well as buy one of these for yourself, I'm going to have some affiliate links in the description of this video below for you to check out. And if you make any purchases using any of those links, it helps support this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. So until next time, I'm Matthew. That's been our look at some of the new drives from LaCie and Seagate coming out this year in 2023. I hope you enjoyed them, and maybe one of these is going to be right for your storage needs. Until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.